Yeah, so having a look
Sounded a
at
bit
the
bad.
pinnacle of bad chatting. Well, having a look now at the map peaks. Cliff gotten rid of by DarkWolves. I can see the sense in that. They don't want to play that one. It has been their first veto for pretty much every game so far that they've played. Muravanka taken away by Meltdown. No problems with that. Prokhorovka, though, from the
Yeah,
DarkWolves.
Proc, okay.
That's
I don't mind that.
yeah. Look, I don't mind that either. Actually, here for the DarkWolves. Now that I look at these stats, Meltdown actually haven't had a great time on Prokhorovka this season so far. So I can see the sense in picking that one for DarkWolves. You know, obviously they don't have many great maps, so they need to pick some of their opponent's weaknesses. Ruinberg there from Meltdown. That's a surprising pick to me. It hasn't been a kind map to Meltdown so far this season. Then we see Himmelsdorf and Mine taken away, and Ghost Down and Steps, the final two maps.
Yeah, interesting to see that Meltdown actually taking away Himmelsdorf there. Obviously, it's a map that we know DarkWolves feel comfortable on, but I would have almost thought that Meltdown could, at least go head-to-head on Himmelsdorf and pull out with a 1-1, but obviously they may not think so. Just taking it out instead, playing the Ghost Towns and the Stepses. Prokhorovka is going to be our first map, though, and I think that is where, you're right, where Meltdown, rather, are potentially going to struggle, because they've got a 0% win rate on it so far, and the DarkWolves, even though they haven't technically won Himmelsdorf either, they have shown a little bit of hope on it, which is better than nothing.
Well, that's pretty much all that they've shown really throughout this season. Like, DarkWolves haven't shown us much more than 1 or 2 rounds where we've sort of stood up and gone, okay, that was all right, but really across the board, it hasn't been that impressive from them. We need to be seeing better from them, obviously, if they want to pick up some wins on the board. But look, I'm going to be going a pretty safe prediction here. I'm thinking it's Meltdown. I'm thinking 5-2 is probably the best chance that the best possible result, really, for DarkWolves. I don't see them getting much more than 2, though.
Yeah. Well, look, I've got down 5-1. I think it is going to be a pretty clear-cut win here for Meltdown, just because, look, the DarkWolves lost to B Gaming.
Yeah.
If you lose to B Gaming, then the current B Gaming in its current form, then you're struggling. You're really in struggle street. So for that reason, Meltdown, look, yes, they've been having a few rough days, rough start to the season, but there's no reason that they shouldn't be able to take out DarkWolves convincingly here. So 5-1 to their favour, but guys, let us know what you think is going to happen in this matchup. Of course, we will be running some polls potentially on the Twitters, on the Facebooks, all of that fun stuff. The hashtag WGL APAC, use that to join us, and we'll give you all the likes, all the retweets, all of that good stuff. And make sure you're watching as well, Jordan, from live.wgleague.net, because that's where we have all fun manner of things.
I always watch from live.wgleague.net.
Yep. Like quests, sometimes polls, memes, all of that fun stuff.
Well, I think this is an important one here for Meltdown. It's a good chance for them to actually get some much-needed points on the board, because they haven't got the best of runs at the moment. They're like 2-3 in terms of wins and losses. So, they're not even positive. Should be positive after this game, though. So they do need to get some points on the board. They need a clean win here. They can't afford it to go to the tiebreaker.
You're right. Absolutely. Meltdown, look, there's no excuse for them to not have a clean win here, so they have got to have their sights set dead ahead on taking this one out in as few games as possible, I believe. But Prokhorovka first, not going to be an easy one for them, of course. Very wide open map.
Yep.
The DarkWolves, we do know they're pretty adept at some of these medium tanks as well. And something like the Kranwagen. There we go. Now, look at that. We're seeing both teams with the S-Tank, with the STRV 103B.
Double tank destroyer from Meltdown on the attack.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting. So Meltdown going kind of like a super squishy lineup with an IS-7 in the mix there as well.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. Yeah.
Wonder how that'll work out. Yeah, so that's a lot of damage, but really the key in Meltdown's lineup there is going to be that RU-251 and the spotting that it's able to get. If DarkWolves can actually take out the RU-251, I think that might be one of the more valuable kills in that the DarkWolves could actually get early on, because if there's no one to spot out tanks for those double tank destroyers, and potentially all of those bat chats, then they can't get out the damage. So
yeah, I'm wondering how this lineup's going to work for Meltdown, to be honest. Like, it's not something we see too often. We have seen in the past, EL, of course, picking up the double tank destroyer, but that was on Steps, double grill 15. Struggling to think of any other time where we've actually seen 2 tank destroyers picked up. Maybe a grill 15 and a Scorpion G on mines, but apart from that, it's very, very unlikely that you're going to ever see 2 tank destroyers in one lineup. Well, I guess with maybe the exception of something like a T110E3 and a 4005 on Himmelsdorf or something like that, but certainly on Prokhorovka or any of the more open maps, it's a little bit unheard of almost.
Yeah, I would say so as well. It's definitely not something that we see very often at all, or maybe if we see it, it might be something like a Scorpion G as the second tank destroyer, not the 2 tier 10s. But I mean, you know, props to Meltdown for trying something out a little bit here, and you know, if they get the right spots, if they light up some DarkWolves out of position, then they can really punish those guys with so much damage on their lineup, so many auto loaders. The DarkWolves can't make a wrong move here.
No, they can't. But similar, Meltdown can't afford to make any wrong moves because if they get spotted out, if those tank destroyers get spotted out, they get lit up. I mean, the grill's definitely a big target to hit. It's pretty easy to hit, pretty easy to penetrate as well. The STRV, obviously, a bit of a different story. It is hard to penetrate, even hard to hit because it's such a small profile. Depending on where it is, it can be hidden by a lot of the terrain. But yeah, I'm not so sure about this one, especially on the attack for Meltdown. Like, it is going to be hard pushing them into positions to get that damage out unless the defenders are coming to them, if DarkWolves are coming to them, if they can get the IS-7 in towards that flag, when the reset attempts start to come out from DarkWolves, that's when I can start to see this sort of a setup working out for Meltdown.
Yeah, I think so as well. And if Meltdown really wanted to, I'm sure that they could, play this one super passively, super defensively, and just wait, hope that in 6 minutes or something, DarkWolves push into them and make some positional error, I guess. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they head out to. Let's find out.
Let us find out indeed. DarkWolves setting up for a 1-flag defense by the looks of things. Meltdown are going to get some pretty decent information on that from Pang Pang. He will at the very least spot out Revolution. Might also get a spot onto Lambert. Nope, he spotted out Gomli though, so that's good enough.
Yeah, not a bad idea. And we do see there Gomli just going to be sitting tight in that 113. Obviously, 113 very, very strong frontal turret armor, so it can get into those hold down positions and hold them very, very effectively. In fact, more so than just about many other tier 10 tank destroyers. Sorry, heavy tanks rather.
I was wondering what you were going with there, but Meltdown are looking like they want to push that 1 flag, which is no surprise given this setup that they have. It's a dangerous prospect though, because Batkong is spotting there in his light tank. Yui and Gomli able to get shots on towards that line, as well as Revolution and Binu. So sending the STRV first is a little bit surprising for me. The IS-7 backing him up.
Yeah, I'm not
so
convinced
sure how I feel about this.
I'm not convinced about sending the STRV 103 first, but it looks like, well, that's exactly what they're doing, and he will be spotted out first. And oh no, you don't want to be on the side of the STRV. He's ricocheting a few shots, so
yeah, this is really poor from the DarkWolves. They shouldn't have been firing that many shots into the STRV. They've wasted probably half their clip each, and I think now those bat chats are pretty much going to be out of shots to fire, and that's going to give Meltdown control of this side of the map. 764 going into Batkong. I dare say that must have been from the Grill 15. And
yep.
Well, that's pretty much worked out exactly the way Meltdown would have liked it to.
Yeah, it's looking like that. So Batkong there just darting out away. And, I mean, he's actually quite lucky that he hasn't been taken out there. Blast in the bat chat, taking a good chunk of damage there for Meltdown. So it's actually not the end of the world here for the DarkWolves. They've taken some, but they've also given some. They've given away a little bit more position.
Take a shot here, I think, from the IS-7. No, Big Pig in the end actually will take a pretty big chunk from Yui in the corresponding IS-7. But overall, at their health pools, DarkWolves are slightly ahead, though they do have the Kranvagen in place of an extra couple of tank destroyers. So Meltdown, I think they've actually had a pretty favourable trade there, and considering the map control that they managed to secure as well, I think it's worthwhile.
Yeah, absolutely. So Yui there, he's going to be the only real member of the DarkWolves close enough to Meltdown to spot them out at the moment. Gomli is around the place in that 113 as well, but a bit further back. We see this S tank here. DarkWolves looking across.
Two Swedish tanks. Both really nice for poking over ridge lines.
Yeah, fantastic at that. I honestly love these new Swedish tanks. You know, the Kranvagen, the STRV 103B, very, very solid tanks overall.
Got any facts for me about the Kronwagen, Alex?
Well, yes, I do.
Oh, wow.
I think I've used most of them tonight, though.
No.
So,
Disappointing.
a little bit disappointing. Of course, the Kranvagen, the word, does directly translate into mobile crane.
That's so.
If you want to get technical, learn a bit of Swedish, Kranvagen.
I think it actually technically translates, because Wagen would be wagon, surely. Because that's what it is in German. Meanwhile, Batcon goes down.
Not German, is it?
Yeah, I know, but
Swedish.
I feel like the two languages are similar enough that it would be.
And a wagon is essentially a car.
Yeah,
Anyways.
like it literally translates to wagon, but it technically translates to mobile crane. But I like these little discussions that we have, Alex.
Anyways, good to know that Jordan is now an expert on the Swedish language.
That's
right
what
now,
I get because I hang out with Safi all the time.
DarkWolves trying to be an expert on Prokhorovka here, and it's not working out too badly for them. Still staying toe-to-toe against Meltdown here in terms of the HP pool, both around about the 10k mark so far. Neither team has lost a tier 10 yet, but the DarkWolves have lost that RE251.
Is in a nice spot here to get some damage on those tanks that are climbing the hill.
Oh, look at Pang Pang in the RE251. He's got to be careful.
He does have to be careful up on that hill there, but Caviar also needs to be a little bit careful because he's in a risky position, has been spotted out. Pink Pig actually opting to fall back a little bit here, so he's not going to get any shots onto that STRV just yet. Looks like Pang Pang is going to get out of there pretty safely as well.
Looking like it. So, Comley there. I'm going to be seeing him in that 113, trying to get a few little bits of damage off across towards Meltdown. Overall, though, John, this is not looking as convincing as I'd like to see it from Meltdown against the DarkWolves here.
No, especially because they've already got a kill.
Yep.
They have a tank advantage. They had pretty much complete control of that
4
one flag
minutes
side
and
of the
20
map.
seconds as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, team efficiency is anything to take a leaf from their book. I mean, it doesn't matter how long you put that timer down. As long as you get a wriggle on around the 2.5, 3 minute mark, you can still clutch out a win.
Right, so right now we do see Vicetone in that batch at 25T looking across towards Mr. Yui there in the IS-7. Like he will be spotted. Yui there, still just staying hull down. He's not really in too much danger. That IS-7's frontal turret armor is pretty insane. And it's going to be very, very hard for anyone to make any shot go through that or even damage it at all.
Vicetone is pushing in here in the bat chat. He's leading the charge for Pathfinder as well. And, well, only one shot going into the IS-7 so far. The bat chats need to make something else a little bit better work out. I think they've managed to set the IS-7 on fire, but he did have a extinguisher. In the end, Pathfinder does take him down. It's a 1-for-1 trade overall, but that health swing probably favouring DarkWolves a little bit, I feel.
Yeah, I'd take that for DarkWolves a little bit. They have taken down Mr. Batchat, and saying that the Kronwagen and Revolution are quite low, so maybe not actually. Maybe Meltdown are feeling a little bit better after that, because Meltdown, look, they still have Pink Pig up. They've still got all of their damage up pretty much, just missing one Batchat. Both of their TDs are still alive. I would have put out lots of damage. And now Pink Pig's here. He's in the IS-7. He's got 240mm of frontal sloped turret armor. That's going to be very, very hard for anyone to get through now that he's down in this hold down position.
Yeah, and this is the spot that Meltdown really wanted to find themselves in probably a few minutes ago with the flag timer starting to put a bit of pressure on, with those tank destroyers sitting up the back ready to destroy anyone that's going forward for the resets, and with the IS-7 in that hold down position that you spoke about. So I think it's probably GG now for Meltdown.
Well, I think it's a little bit early to call GG, but they're definitely in a good spot. The issue for Meltdown now, though, is that there's only 2 minutes left on the clock. And
Not sure what Pink Pig is doing here. I'm not really certain why he's decided to push that. But he's going to get back up from Pathfinder, it seems. So now the mystery is a little bit unraveled. They want to take down that 113. They will get it, trading it for the IS-7. But I almost feel like just sitting on the flag would have been the safer option here. Still, looks like they should be able to clean this up. I mean, there's only 3 tanks left alive. For DarkWolves, and there's 2 minutes still for Meltdown to chase them. Although Binu does take down the RU-251. Oh, he gets taken down, luckily, by Blast. If Binu had to survive there, that's when things might have got a little bit worrisome here for Meltdown, but they've probably managed to secure this one well enough now.
Well, I mean, you say that. I think it's still going to be a bit of a uphill climb from Meltdown. There's only 1 minute and 23 seconds left. So, you know, they're going to be getting on towards the cap. But look at this. The STRV is going to be giving the Grill of Cry a lot of pain. It's not that easy to push, you know, to a Batchat, an STRV, and a Grill into a hold down STRV.
I mean, the Grill here has enough HP to play with. The STRV has enough HP to play with. As long as Blast doesn't go down for free, essentially, they'll be fine.
Well, that's what they're going to be trying to do, but 53 seconds left.
I want to see the Grill drive over the STRV here. Use him as a ramp. Yes. No. I wanted it to be much more exciting than that.
It wasn't very exciting, was it?
Trying to angle his armor as best as he can there, Caviar, but won't be able to get too much done. Meltdown pick up the first win between the two.
Pretty solid win there from the Meltdown crew. And I think that STRV Grill strat, it didn't work out too badly in the end.
Yeah, it was okay. I mean, it got the job done, but I feel like it didn't really add anything more.
No. You're right. It wasn't really kind of amazing, and it just meant that they were a little bit slower to actually push in because they had those 2 tank destroyers.
Yeah.
That, you know, often don't have the same. I mean, look, the Grill and the STRV. You don't want the Grill anywhere close to the action, to pushing in because it's a Grill. You know, just get shot. You don't really want the STRV close to the action because then it has to reset up from, you know, from mobility mode into siege mode. Travel mode into siege mode, and that takes time. So lots of reasons that you don't really have quite as many options in terms of being mobile with those two TDs. But,
yeah. So we'll have to see what's going to come out here in the second half. I would be surprised to see another double TD strategy from Meltdown, to be honest. I think that's a little bit far-fetched, although it feels like it would work a little better on the defense.
Yeah.
Still, though, I don't know. It just seems unlikely. It does not... It doesn't feel like it adds all that much for me. So I think 1's enough. Maybe if you want to go for another long-range threat, pick an artillery, something like that. Get a tier 8 arty on the field. And that's something that DarkWolves could potentially explore here as well on the attack. I mean, we've seen them pick it a lot on Prokhorovka, so you know, wouldn't be surprised particularly to see an artillery picked here by the DarkWolves. But before we get too far into that rabbit hole, we'll have a look here at the replays from the last round.
Yeah, so Yui here in this IS-7 just getting set on fire, but did have that fire extinguisher in his kit, so it wasn't a bad idea to use that one. Overall, I don't think it actually saved him too many more extra shots. And yeah, just pretty simple win there from Meltdown.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, pretty good damage done by Cry, but where's the damage from the STRV? I feel like, you know, another Batchat wouldn't have hurt Meltdown, to be honest.
Yeah. Wouldn't have hurt at all, but overall, I think Blast here in that Batchat, it's interesting because we did actually think that Blast would have been the one in the Grill this time.
That's what I was thinking as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure why, but it obviously worked out in the Batchat, and you know, their Grill play worked out pretty well as well. Momo 7 on the STRV 103B though for Meltdown though, like. Why has he got 21 shots fired with 1 hit?
I don't know. In theory, it could be 2 hits because he got 1 kill. We might have finished off a really low HP target or something. But yeah, I mean, I'm not so sure what's happened there for Momo. But
it's a bit strange.
Yes, the Batchat would have been a good idea. Meltdown. Anyway, they won, so really can't complain too much for them. Have to see what they're going to pull out here in the second half, though.
Yes, and I think in the second half here, look, we are going to be probably seeing the S-Tank on both sides again. Maybe we might be seeing an arty piece here for the DarkWolves.
Potential, yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing that. Maybe DarkWolves probably tending to go for the Lorraine. It's either going to be the Lorraine or the M40 if we see it. Not the SU-14 too, unfortunately.
Damn. What a shame, Alex. What a shame. Yeah, I think it's reasonably likely. I feel like sometime tonight we're going to see an artillery coming out from the guys on DarkWolves, especially if we get down to steps. They pick that a lot. Even on Ghost Town, it can work. Probably not for the DarkWolves. We haven't seen it too much on Ghost Town, and not so much on Ruinberg either. So it's either going to be this map or something on steps if we get to steps.
Oh yeah, I remember we used to see it quite a bit on Ghost Town.
A little bit,
really, now it's not It's not really the done thing, I guess. So it's like, why pick an arty if the Oods is basically an artillery piece that isn't an arty, sort of thing. So yeah, overall though, on the next half in Prokhorovka, like we said, maybe an arty, probably S tanks, Kranwagens again.
Yep.
Just your usual proc stuff. Might be seeing an STB or two, but these teams don't really play it too
Yeah,
often.
no, I don't think they're huge STB fans. So even the Kranwagen, I don't think we tend to see all that much. Maybe DarkWolves pick a Kranwagen a little bit more than Meltdown. But Meltdown seemed pretty vanilla, almost.
Yeah, pretty vanilla chiller.
Yeah. Just want to go for the normal picks. They're not new picks. They like to be standard. They don't like to be super innovative. Maybe that's something that's been hurting Meltdown a little bit, is they haven't adapted so much this season. They've just been playing like they have last season.
Yeah, you're right. I think that is a big issue for Meltdown because they haven't adapted too much. They've picked a few, you know, they're starting to pick a few of these tanks, like the S tank we just saw there, but definitely not adapting, definitely not innovating too much. And, you know, they haven't really tried too much out this season. They haven't done the SU-14-2 push.
No, but they did do the CDC. Oh, no, that was Meltdown. Yes, Meltdown did the CDC strat. Yeah, so that's... But again,
it was done last season.
The CDC is not something new, right?
Yeah. So yeah, would like to see a little bit of innovation from Meltdown, and I wonder if playing on the Korea server has an impact on that at all. Whether you know, just versing the same players over and over again, like we heard that they do at that level of play. But
all right, well, let's find out what the Meltdown guys are going to do here on Prokhorovka. Are they going to adapt? Are they going to pick the Kranwagen?
There's the Lorraine.
There it is. And the STRV as well, and the Lorraine, as you mentioned.
Okay, well, I do like this setup here from the DarkWolves. They've got STRV, IS-7, T110E5. So quite a bit of bulk in their lineup. 3 bat chats, those tier 10 French medium auto loaders for a lot of damage, and the Lorraine for a little bit of pressure. And it's always good having an arty against a Kran, because it just means the Kranwagen can't get away with as much rubbish as it would otherwise be able to get away with on the central side of this map.
Alrighty, well, Dinu's going to go pretty aggressively in towards the Meltdown guys there. If they catch him off guard here, if they track him, he's in trouble.
It's like right now, early push has caught out Binu in a little bit. Oh, he's in trouble. 1200 damage there for Binu, taken very, very quickly.
Well, Meltdown under a bit of pressure here. They've taken a little bit of damage. Let's head on board with their comms and find out how things are going when it heats up.
계속했는데?
뺄 수 있어.
빼봐.
반대로? 아니면 어떻게?
빼고 저거
빼야 돼.
1, 2라인 크게 먹자.
아 이거 나 A형 갈게. 내가 A형
가.
빨리 가, 빨리 가야 돼.
아직도 안 맞아 이 형은? 엄마 지금 손을 많이 봐서 내가 A형 가야 돼.
이거 용준아 너 그냥 A6 남아서 저거
아,
꺾어라.
사이버 쐈다.
확인.
상아 등지 자리 먹을까? 쭉 가볼까?
이거 근데
봐봐.
A형 들키면
야,
안 된다. 자축 때문에. 자축 때문에 그래. 자축 때문에.
가볼까 나?
아, 우리가 빠르게 따면 돼 그냥. 빠르게 K1 먹어줘. 우리 바샤 세대 붙고 있으니까 그냥.
트랍은 들켜서 쏘지 마라.
확인. 아까 들켜도가 아니라 보여도 쏘지 말지.
보여줘.
아 뭐 루 올라가 있는 것처럼 하게? 근데
다주가 긁으면 여기 뜰 건데.
없다. 캐리안 없다.
확인.
얘네 2번만 확실히.
야, 루 달려봐.
So a bit of a slow play here for the DarkWolves, as expected, with that artillery. Just getting the damage across when they can, but Meltdown, I think they want to go for a play through the south.
Yeah, it's looking a little bit like that. It's just about everyone apart from Pink Pig is heading down south here. Blast, we can see, with accuracy of 67% for Meltdown. Average damage 1557.
Not too bad.
Nothing crazy, but he's a solid player for Meltdown. Definitely solid. See Pang there in that RU251. Going to be pushing up a little bit further.
Yeah, he's doing a good job now. He's going to be spotting out Yui more than likely. He might even get a couple of spots on towards the hill. Looks like he spotted out Caviar in that STRV, and Yui, of course, getting spotted out there. Gomlee does get spotted in the mid as well. So a fair bit of information there for Meltdown, and they've actually managed to capitalize upon it, doing a little bit of damage. Pang takes a shot from Yui and a second. He needs to get out of here, but Yui, I think he's been punished enough for that aggressive peak that he's not too keen to go for a third here to actually pick up the kill.
Yeah, there we go. So Mr. Yui there, 708 HP left after that peak. Don't think he's going to be in a rush to do that one again, as Pang here kind of limping away on 118 HP. And again, DarkWolves are in a pretty good position to defend this one out. The Artie's pushed all the way up into the hill, and that's going to give that Lorraine so much field of fire up there just to sit back on the hill and hammer out any Meltdown member that gets spotted. It's going to be very, very hard for Meltdown to kind of stick around in any fight.
Well, I mean, to be honest, DarkWolves have kind of just fallen into the trap of Meltdown here. Yui looks like he's going to get caught out by these bat chat, and even when, or if, the guys on Meltdown really need a reset, they've got that STRV of Momo. Caviar is scouting up in that direction. Ooh, Momo needs to be careful with the shots that he's firing here. He will get spotted out shortly by Caviar, and then it's going to be all over, and it's down to the rest of the Meltdown players to make something happen. They did get that kill towards the south of the map, but they are all very, very low on HP across the board. Meltdown looking a little worse for wear. If they can find Binu, get that gun out of the game, they might have a bit of a better chance here, but as soon as that Tank Destroyer is spotted out, if Meltdown, he looks like he is spotted out, Momo, he's going to be in pressure from the bat chat. I just don't know how well this is going to work out for Meltdown, given how much HP they've given up here.
Is he spotted?
I'm sure he got spotted there by Caviar.
I didn't see the thing light up. But, oh no, Pink Pig going to be taking down the Lorraine. So that's a couple of tanks down there for the DarkWolves. This is not looking good.
Guess he's not spotted.
Yeah, like, I don't actually think he is.
They know that he's there. Like, Lambert knows he's being shot from that direction. It's just no one from DarkWolves is doing anything about it.
Oh, there we go. He's definitely spotted now. But look at this. He's just pumping out so much damage. So much damage there. And suddenly, surprise STRV on your side.
Who would have thought? I mean, STRV versus STRV, that's not something that you see every day. It looks like Lambert isn't going to have a shot onto Momo, and Caviar might actually lose this duel.
Oh, it's going to be tricky.
Oh!
He's
nailed it.
Oh, the Sumo S-Tank takes down his opponent.
Rest in peace, Momo. He is dead as doornail. And it's very hard to actually flip an S-Tank as well. Like, once you've flipped it over, it's hard to get it back. And, well, Meltdown are going to be able to find the win here, even if Momo does blow up in a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
Come on, here we go. Should be soon. You only
Should
get
be.
30 seconds.
Yeah. Oh, reminds me of
There
the
we
last
go.
time I flipped my tank over.
Happens a lot, doesn't it?
A little bit. But there you go. With the tank flips, that is going to be DarkWolves' luck flipping over on the second half of Prokhorovka, as they now are in the not lead, 2-0.
No, they're not in the lead at all. Nice start here for Meltdown, sitting on 2-0, as you mentioned. They picked up the 2-0 on a pick from DarkWolves as well, which means headed into the second map pick and the third map pick, they're both Meltdown maps. So that should lead you to believe, well, they're going to have a pretty good time this series.
And now DarkWolves are on struggle street, I think.
Yep.
Safe to say. So, oh, look, overall, DarkWolves there, look, I like some of their plays. I like their picks for the tanks, but overall, they just took way too much damage. Yui got baited in a little bit by that Meltdown push down the south. And the STRV was just doing so much damage for Meltdown. And, yeah, that was it.
Meltdown looked a lot more comfortable there on Prokhorovka. There were moments that DarkWolves could have actually probably won that second round.
I agree. No, but there was a few, and they were in some good positions that they set themselves up in, but they just, I don't know, didn't hit the shots, got baited in a little bit after that. Who knows? Either way, not ideal for the DarkWolves, and they've got to put Prokhorovka behind them and look forward to our next map, which is going to be
Ruinberg. It's not been a kind map really to either of these teams so far this season. You know, like 17% win rate for the guys on Meltdown after 6 played, and only a 50% win rate for the DarkWolves for 4 games played. So it's not great for them, but it's getting a bit far ahead of myself here. Let's look back at that one on Prokhorovka.
Yeah, so Yui there in the bat chat. Again, he was just caught out very, very early on and took so much damage. And at this point, Bino and Caviar, they're not looking too healthy either. Momo in that S-Tank. Just not ideal. I think, look, the Swedes, they thought of a lot of things for the S-Tank, but they didn't think of a tank flipper.
Yeah, they needed a big fly swatter that comes out from the side of the tank and flips you back over.
Actually, you know, it's funny because they could have used the same technology that they used for the hydraulics in the S-Tank. It's very ingenious how they actually made it. It's like kind of hydraulic pistons that pump oil into like another like thing which turns a lever which pushes it up based on hydraulic pressure. It's very, very clever. Anyways, I'm explaining it badly, but
Yeah,
there's some very smart engineering behind it.
Well, having a look at the battle stats there, it is the Kranvargen of Pink Pig doing a fair bit of damage, and actually Pang Pang did a pretty reasonable job in the RE251. Pretty impressed by that.
Yeah, absolutely. Pang Pang there in the AE251, 13 shots fired, 3 kills. And down the bottom there, Yui with 1150 damage in the Bat Chat. Vice Tone, Mr. Bat Chat, what is he doing?
I don't know.
What's he doing?
Something. It's just a completely different. Like, I think what he's been doing this season is he's been trying to be involved a lot earlier in the battles. You know, like last season we were quite
last season
critical of him, you know, farming damage at the end of the battles.
Yeah, but it worked out better than what he's doing this season, to be honest. Like, yeah, it's not great. So I think he does need to play a little bit more. I was going to say a word which probably I don't want to use this a little bit bad, but
Safer.
Defensively safer, more cautious.
I mean, if he's being the one that has to lead the charge, that's fair enough. Like, there has to always be someone to do that job, and if that's his job and he's doing his job, then fair enough. Can't complain about that one. And it's working out for Meltdown so far tonight. 2-0 up against the DarkWolves. They've got themselves a very nice platform to build upon here. Could potentially turn it into a 5-0. We thought, you know, this was going to be pretty one-sided for the guys on Meltdown. So there's definitely a chance now that they've started off well, that they can close it out and end it well.
Yeah, you're right. And look, with Prokhorovka being the DarkWolves map pick and then Meltdown winning that one 2-0 in very convincing fashion, looking through the rest of the maps that we've got lined up for this series, I just don't see any map which strikes me as a real map where DarkWolves can come back on. And I really like Meltdown's vetoes here. You know, they've vetoed out one of DarkWolves' kind of pretty solid maps in Himmelsdorf. So with that off the pool, with Prokhorovka done, I'm really, really struggling to see what the opening will be here for DarkWolves in these next few maps.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. It doesn't look like a good sort of a situation for them, does it? I mean, Ruinberg, they could potentially get one round here, I think, maybe. It hasn't been a great one for Meltdown, as I've already said, and it hasn't been excellent for the DarkWolves either, but the nature of Ruinberg is that it does tend to be a 1-1 map. And then, obviously, Ghost Town after that, I think that one's probably fairly well wrapped up for Meltdown.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Ghost Town for Meltdown. Pretty solid 2-0, I think it's safe to say. Unless the DarkWolves can pull off something crazy, but or unless Meltdown try for a 2-flag push on the attack, which never works, then yeah, it should be a pretty solid Meltdown victory on that one. But guys, let us know what you think is going to happen in this next one here on Ruinberg. I think it's still probably going to be a 2-0 to Meltdown, but I might be wrong.
Yeah, like it could be a 2-0 for Meltdown. And I think, you know, they have had some difficult times on Ruinberg, but they have the strategy sort of set down pretty well. They do like the FV215Bs quite a lot on Ruinberg.
Like the CDC push.
CDC push. I hope we don't see something like that. I don't think they need to go for a cheesy strategy up against DarkWolves.
Well, but that's the thing. Like, if they wanted to have a little bit of fun, right, then honestly, they could have a little bit of fun against the DarkWolves, because it's the DarkWolves.
I don't think they can afford to have fun in this game. I mean, like, they aren't in a position where they're like, okay, we know we've done well, we know we can kind of, you know, if we lose this, it's not too bad. But they actually really need the points from this matchup.
Yeah. Well, there you go, I guess. They need the points, but they're going to have to work for them here on Ruinberg next up. Of course, a battle with very asymmetrical map is Ruinberg. The attack and the defensive sides play very, very differently. Lots of options for strategy. You can push up the city, you can push down to the town, around to the town, through the city, to the town. Lots of options. Anyways, have to wait and see what these teams end up doing here. One thing's for sure, it is going to be action-packed, Jordan, as our next match of the night.
That's the all-important tank picks coming out here.
Emil, Mao. So that's what I like to see from both of these teams. DarkWolves going triple mouse. They're going to be just hounding it towards that 2 flag.
Yeah, must be. And Well, does Meltdown have anything to deal with that? Yeah, they've got an FV250 or a couple of FV215Bs, which is not a bad pick into the mouse. The AMX50B, it's a pretty decent defensive setup, though I'm a little worried about the email. I don't know how that's going to go against the mouses.
I don't think email's going to do that well against the mouses because it's only got 300 mils of average penetration with gold rounds on that 12 centimeter gun that it's got. So against a mouse, you'd probably be wanting a little bit more than that. You know, the tier 10 average of about 330. So not ideal to try and counter those mouses, but at the end of the day, if they can just take down the bat chats first and worry about the mouses later, then could be problem solved for them.
Yep, and this is typical mouse strategy on the attack of Rurenberg. Get a couple in towards the 2 flag. Yui is hanging around towards the 1 flag, but I suspect he's probably going to join his teammates over towards the 2 flag or push down that middle alleyway when things start to get a bit of a wriggle on. Interesting that Momo in the email here is actually going to be going down to that K0 position. That's typically taken away by those sort of the light tanks with a decent turret, so the T-54 lightweight, even occasionally the 1390. It's irrelevant because I just said it was a good turret, but 1390 obviously doesn't have a good turret, but if it does get YOLO'd over by a couple of tanks, obviously it can put out a little bit more damage than some of the other lights in a short amount of time. So I wonder how the email's going to work out here. Obviously it makes sense having a nice hull down tank in that position, but I just feel as though it might be a little bit too easy to remove if you get some side shots into that turret.
Not wrong. Not wrong. That Email 2's turret is super strong at the front, but get it on its side and it is a lot less pretty. It's got 215 mils of turret armor actually at the front, but on its side only 60.
Yeah, so that's not too great. But it does look like, okay, I think I see what's going to go on here for Meltdown. They're going to go for something similar to what was picked up yesterday, where we saw the mouse blocking for a couple of those bat chats. And who was it that ran this? I think it was Horseman. Was it Horseman yesterday?
Potentially, yeah.
Horseman even play yesterday? Oh, it's so late in the night, I can't even remember.
But look, right now, let's hold that thought a little bit because these mouses are just about to push out.
B-Gaming, it was actually against DarkWolves as well. So DarkWolves have stolen B-Gaming's strategy by the looks of things.
Well, it's interesting. Interesting to see them actually doing this. And I do like it, however, getting the mouse into there. Because at the end of the day, even if you do kill the mouse, then it just turns into a giant lump of steel. It's a lot like the SU-14 2
10
strat.
seconds to get the reset. It is Pang Pang that's going to have to do that, and you can see Yui trying to back out.
There we go, there's the reset.
The defense for his teammates, but as you said, the reset does come across. Binu still not reset for the moment. Yui is taking lots of shots. There we go, Binu's taking some damage. Meltdown haven't really executed this strategy quite so well. They needed those big heavy tank destroyers down those 2 alleyways to punish those Meltdown players that, or punish the DarkWolves players that came in for the resets. And now it's really not looking too good at all for Meltdown.
Well, yeah, Meltdown definitely struggling a little bit here, but in saying that, the DarkWolves are now off the cap, so Meltdown have accomplished their objective. And whilst the DarkWolves do have the HP advantage, they've only got 2 bat chats left on the field, whereas there's a lot more damage left on the Meltdown side of things. As long as, Vicetone, if he goes down here, that's trouble. Oh, that's trouble for Revolution.
Yeah, and Momo has been spotted out by Caviar, who is in a bat chat of his own.
Yeah,
it's not looking too great though for Caviar. The 50B of Blast is causing him some problems. Caviar's doing a pretty good job of trading sort of aggro and getting the damage across. He knows he only needs 1 shot, so he's happy to take that extra shot from the 50B.
Oh,
lucky that
was,
maybe the 50B didn't roll high with an extra 30 damage.
Very lucky. Here's Mr. Caviar, and actually we've got... This isn't too bad, actually, because the DarkWolves, they could actually lose their mouse here. It takes so long for that.
HB actually with the Meltdown guys, and there goes one of those mouses.
I actually like Meltdown here. They're on the defense. They can take shots, and look, Lambert is taking shots now in his mouse. Oh, look at that. Look at that.
Yep, 3 shots from Pink Pig. But Momo's under a bit of pressure here. Pink Pig is probably going to get another 1 shot, but the angle of the armor for Lambert there makes it a little difficult to penetrate. So Lambert's played this one pretty well. We need to see Momo at least pick up either a little bit more damage into this mouse, or he needs to take down Caviar, because Pink Pig's going to have a
Pink
difficult
Pig's
time
having such a hard time actually putting shots into that mouse.
getting the job done. Caviar's going to be the linchpin here, though, for DarkWolves.
Yeah.
If he can come around from
Yeah.
the back, catch Momo off guard, and clip him out with a couple more shots, that's where DarkWolves win this one. But if he goes down to Momo...
I'm not even sure, even if Momo goes down, because Pink Pig's still on 1600 HP. Like, Pink Pig gets one shot off onto Caviar, he's done. The FE215B can do that with relative ease.
Oh, this is a pixel shot.
Oh,
and
there
he's
we
hit
go.
it.
That's it.
That's the British accuracy.
Yeah. I don't... look, yes, there is a way that DarkWolves can
Well, Caviar's
miraculously
making
pull
his
this
push
up.
now, and he's been spotted out, so Momo's not going to allow that
That's
to happen.
it.
And
Yep.
that's game. That's game.
That's
Meltdown
game.
should win this one now. Pink Pig's got enough damage to brawl with that mouse, even if Momo does go down, then he doesn't even have to brawl with the mouse. He's got the nice little bit of a sniping distance. Very happy with how things have gone here. Pink Pig has just been farming the damage.
Yeah, he's loving this. Damage, damage, damage. Nom nom nom. That's yeah, the FE215B there. Doing work, and that's what it's great to do. It's great for just taking out these mouses. You don't have to worry about clips, don't have to worry about any of that business. You can just keep on firing shot after shot after shot, and get the DPM down.
Yep, and he did indeed get the DPM. Probably a linchpin in that final little win. He picked up both of the mouses, which were a pretty big threat, really, for Meltdown there. But in the end, Meltdown now finding themselves at 3-0. We did say we thought this was going to be quite heavily favoured in their side, but maybe not so much this favoured. Good to see, though, from Meltdown. They're back on track.
Yeah, back on track, absolutely. So, look, Meltdown here, now looking good, and I think DarkWolves, they tried... Look, I didn't mind that strat. I felt as though if they just pushed on towards that 2 flag instead with the mouses, like, maybe it would have worked a little bit better. Yes, the cap did come very close, and yes, they did punish some of those Meltdown members for, you know, trying to get the cap reset and get out of position. I don't know, I just would have preferred a 2 flag push, you know, because it's less all or nothing sort of thing with the mouses.
Yeah, yeah. It was almost pulled off nicely there from DarkWolves, but they just didn't seem to be 100%. You know, they didn't seem to know exactly the ins and outs of what they had to do there. They allowed the mouses to get a little bit out-rotated, take a little bit too much damage at the end there, and obviously the FV215B coming up with a pretty good performance. Pink Pig doing a good job. It was a bit shaky from Meltdown, though, I got to say as well. It didn't, or from DarkWolves, sorry, when they were trying to get that cap going on, they didn't really work out too nicely for them. Let's have a look at the replays anyway, and see how things all went wrong for the DarkWolves.
Yeah, so, look, great reset here by Pang Pang. Let's not forget, if Pang Pang didn't make that, then that probably would have been game. Game, set, match to, well, not game, set, match, but game to the DarkWolves. So that was good. And yeah, in the meantime here, we did see Pink Pig doing work in that FV215B.
And, well, the 4.7k
There's the work.
damage farmed. That's entirely unsurprising to see Pink Pig up the top there, but Blast getting a very good amount of damage out in the 50B.
Oh, and Vicetone, Mr. Batchat, he's up there.
He's up there, but still 1900, you know, it's not that much. It's only one clip. Caviar and Revolution doing a much better job.
Yeah, well, actually, Caviar and Revolution, props to them for 3k and 2.8k damage, respectively, over on their Batchats. And, well, Lambert and the Mouse, he made something happen with 2k damage, so I can't really fault that. I do still really like the Mouse. Like, I think it's really good.
Yeah, I think it's good. And it's going to be even better at the end of, well, the next patch. So I think we're going to be seeing
speed buffing?
No, they're buffing something. What are they buffing? I think it's getting better. It's getting a better gun, I'm pretty sure.
Right. That's pretty good.
Maybe some extra armor. I actually have no idea, to be honest. But they are buffing it. I know that much. Anyway,
I might need to start grinding down the German heavy line. I don't have any German heavies actually.
they're bringing in a tier 9 mouse as well. It's called the Moistkin.
Moistkin.
Moistkin. Try that.
Moistkin.
Good try. It was a good try. Clearly, you've never spoken German in your life. It's basically a baby mouse. We'll see how it works out. I wonder if we'll see it. Would like to maybe see it instead of E50s on Cliff.
Why don't they just make a mouse and then a rat? Because a rat.
A Ratte. That's
yeah,
the German word for rat.
Ratter. There you go.
Ratte.
Because the rat is bigger than the mouse. So
So you would say
instead of a baby mouse.
you want the Ratte to be the tier 10 and the mouse to be the tier 9?
Yeah, why not?
Because the mouse is already the tier 10.
That's silly. Wargaming, please.
That's not silly at all.
Where's the ratter?
There is no Ratte. It doesn't exist.
It's a problem, isn't
That's
it?
the E100. The E100's the Ratte, I guess, in this sort of a scenario.
Okay. I
It's
guess
the-
it'd be a pretty bad tank to drive if you're driving a tank that's called the Rat.
Well, yeah. I guess the mouse is just kind of a play on words because it's so big, but it's actually small. But yeah. Anyway, digressing a lot, Alex. Let's have a look back at Meltdown here on Ruenberg. They did well on the on the defensive side. Sorry. How are they going to go on the defense? Or on the How are they going to go on the offense now that we've seen them do well on the defense? Stop
I
doing
think
that.
they're gonna. I think they're gonna win. Look, I mean, Meltdown here on the offense. I reckon we're going to see something a little bit crazy. I reckon we're really going to be seeing, one of our Meltdown special strategies. Like I'm not wiggling my eyes for nothing. I think Meltdown, they're going to bust out something that makes us wiggle our eyes. So whether it's another CDC-esque strategy or maybe some clever tank destroyer used, potentially an FV4005, what would you be saying?
I think it's a strategy that could work against the DarkWolves. Like I think if they get the CDC in a good spot, DarkWolves aren't going to know how to deal with it. So I wouldn't be particularly surprised to see it from Meltdown. I would prefer them just to play a standard game here though and get the normal win. I think they probably need to get some normal wins on the board.
Jordan. Yeah.
Well, I just like to see it played the way it should be played.
Yeah.
Don't want to see the cheese.
I love the cheese. I mean, look, if you've got a mouse, you've got to have cheese for it to eat. So it's got to be cheese somewhere, I think. And that's my logic, at least.
Yeah, well, your logic is something else, Alex.
Is it as full as holes as Swiss cheese?
Yeah, maybe.
There you go.
Maybe.
We're talking so much about cheese. Did that all night, but we probably shouldn't. We should probably talk a little bit more about tanks.
Yes, it is getting late. Things are hard to concentrate, Alex. I understand.
No, I'm still. Look, I've had my Nespresso. I had my Nespresso
Another tangent.
Roma capsule. Very nice capsule, by the way. I can recommend it to everyone. The dark.
Why do I have to cast with you?
The dark hand capsule, a little bit bitter. Honestly, it's not great. So avoid that one. Roma's good. Ristretto's good. Which is funny because you say ristretto. Ristretto is actually the name of a type of coffee.
Can I just leave? Like, take my headset off and I'm out?
Anyways,
You
enough
could just
about
go on forever about random stuff.
enough
You don't
about
need
that.
me to be here to talk about
I don't.
tanks.
I really don't. But let's take a look at some tanks now, guys. I think it's about
Thank
time.
God. Oh, it's the AMX CDC.
Got the cheese.
We got
Okay.
no mouses though.
Got no mouses, but look, I think Meltdown here, they've got the mouse trap that they put the cheese into. The cheese is going to be this CDC, and DarkWolves might just take the bait.
Yeah, I think they will.
Yeah, I think they will as well, honestly. I mean, look, I love DarkWolves, but, I don't rate them. I'm sorry.
Wow.
I'm sorry, DarkWolves. I love your work, but...
Clearly not. Hang on though, Meltdown's pushing into the 2 flag.
Oh, you see, this could be the super cheese. Wait, Pang Pang's on the CDC. What? So where are they putting the CDC?
Well, I
that's
assume on the 2 flag, and they're going to get the IS-7 hull down behind it.
monkey particle effects, but okay, yeah. I
And
guess.
DarkWolves, they were ready. Look at that, up towards the 1 flag. They
Yeah,
were ready for the defense.
they weren't gonna get cheese.
Boys, we read this situation. Let's hold it. And Meltdown's like, well, nah, we're over towards the 2 flag.
I love this from Meltdown. I actually really love this. Because, well, yeah. Momo is in trouble, though. I think, looking at the mini-map there, you don't want to be Momo right now.
No, he's just going to need some backup from his teammates, that's for sure.
Or just need to cap the flag in 40 seconds. That
Yeah,
could
put
work
another
as well.
guy on the flag. That's going to put some real pressure on Meltdown.
Yeah, well, it's looking like pressure on DarkWolves, I guess.
Yeah,
as-
sorry, yeah, DarkWolves.
Yeah, they're coming around now, and it's looking like Revolution's going to be dedicated to try.
Momo's going to get at least one more shot out here, probably another 2. Oh, he spotted out all those tanks. Yeah, maybe
Lol.
not even going to get another 2. He does get one more onto the 50B, but that is a big loss for Meltdown early on the piece. At least Revolution has been taken down for Meltdown, so it's a 1-1 trade overall. Pang Pang is going to go down momentarily. Obviously, it's his job to die in that CDC, so that's not going to be too bothersome for Meltdown. And he's actually getting a couple of shots out by the looks of things before he goes down, so that's a bit of a bonus out of your CDC.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, there we go. See you later, Pang Pang. But
so that's not worked out too well for the Meltdown guys, because Batcom's in a very nice position to get easy resets on the IS-7.
yeah, it's not gone well, the cap strat. But yeah, I'm not sure if they've actually practiced this strat before, or they just realised that it was never going to work on the 1 flag, so they went to the 2 flag as a last-ditch attempt, because that CDC is not protecting Pathfinder from Emil in.
Well, it is now because he's pushed it.
Okay.
So he's a bit better of a hull down position.
Little bit better.
Yeah. And, yep, that's going to be an easy pen for Pathfinder there, while Batcong's just driving around up and down, showing his lower front plate to the entire world. Obviously, easy pens for an IS-7 onto the hull of the Emil. Don't want to be shooting the turret, of course. Pretty easy reset here for Binu, but I think DarkWolves have probably just lost a little bit too much now to come back from this.
Yeah, this isn't looking good for DarkWolves. They've got 4 tanks left. Meltdown have 4 tanks, but they're on much higher HP. None of the Meltdown tanks are kind of critically injured right now. Pink Pig's still going to be able to put out this damage in the Object 140. Needs to make sure he doesn't get clipped here by the remaining members of the DarkWolves, but that's not going to be happening. Instead, we see another tank killed by Meltdown there. Meltdown and Bino, they're 1 shot away. Bino goes down, and at this point, it's just a cleanup crew that's needed from Meltdown. And again, surprising tactic from Meltdown. Weren't sure if it was going to work, but there you go. They've just proven that it didn't really.
It didn't feel super effective. Like, it could have just been any other tank, really.
Yeah.
Like, they could have had an extra tank on the battle and they still would have won this one. Pink
Yeah.
Pig, actually it's Cry in the end to get the final kill there for Meltdown, but it does put them at 4-0, and 12 might be in for our first 5-0 for tonight, our first quick match of tonight.
Well, there you go. You don't reckon that DarkWolves might pull it back?
I don't think there's any chance DarkWolves pull this back.
They're looking pretty shaky. I would like to see DarkWolves at least get a game here against Meltdown. I mean, look, they're the 2 Korean teams. It's strange to see them so far apart. You know.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it's always been, though. Like, DarkWolves were always the weaker team in the WGL. Meltdown always a little bit stronger. So, not too surprised to see this one turning out this way, to be honest. And pretty good response, or pretty good result, really, for Meltdown there on Runeberg. I didn't think that one was going to be so easy to 2-0, but the fact that they've 2-0'd that one with such ease, I think this is going to be pretty easy 5-0 for Meltdown, to be honest.
Well, what do we got next? Ghost Town.
Yeah.
So I actually think that you know, that could be a potential DarkWolves win there for one half of Ghost Town, because it's a very simple map to play as long as you don't go for the 2 flag. But anyways, let's take a look back at the replays for that one and see how Meltdown ended up turning that one around.
Yeah.
After this start.
Well, I think the key was Revolution getting taken down early on there for DarkWolves. If they had have lost Momo in that T1-10E3 for no sort of a trade apart from damage, then they would have found themselves in a difficult position. I mean, even now, it's a tank advantage there for DarkWolves, but they were able to bring it back with that health advantage that they had. So, having a look at the battle stats, we'll see that it was Blast to do the majority of the damage there, but
Pink Pig
coming in with another very good
Then Mr.
result.
Batchat, Vicestone in 3rd position. 2,500 damage, 10 shots fired. And Pathfinder in that IS-7 dealing 1,900 damage. With 5 shots fired, which is pretty respectable. Mr. Pathfinder, and Cry in the Batchat 25T with 1,636 damage. So, look, overall, not bad results across the Meltdown board. Good to see that Object 140 from Pink Pig doing work. And unfortunately for the DarkWolves, the ML actually worked.
CDC got a shot off.
CDC got a shot off.
Pretty good roll off for CDC as well, by the way.
I mean, the DarkWolves did some damage. Yeah, 247.
247. It's around 200, 220 sometimes.
Right.
You can roll pretty badly on the CDC.
Right. Fair call. Well, I've never played the CDC myself. I'm more of an SCM50T man. It's
Fair
quite. I find it bad, but maybe
I
that's just me.
hear the Reveler Rays. Is that how you pronounce it? The new French medium, premium is a lot better than the CDC in general. But look, they all have their place in the game, and the CDC's place is to die and be a shield for the IS-7.
I think the
It's worked out.
FCM, yeah. Well, I think the FCM's place is just to earn credits, from my experience in it. But it's just about all it does well. Anyways, but right now, it's time to head into Game 5. After that pretty poor showing from the DarkWolves. I mean, they did come a little bit close, but overall, Meltdown not really encountering much opposition there. And
Yeah.
look, it's hard. What do you do when, like, was there any way that you think that Meltdown, that the DarkWolves could have guessed that Meltdown were going to swap it out and just not go to the one flag at all?
No, I think you always assume it's going to be the one flag push there. So I think DarkWolves set up correctly for it. You know,
Yep.
they read the situation as well as they could have. Just Meltdown kind of threw in a curveball.
Threw in a good curveball, obviously. It caught the DarkWolves off guard. But now we've got to focus on our next map, which is going to be Ghost Town. Very nice map designed specifically for esports, of course.
Yep.
For our 7v7 format. And so I think it shows. It's a very balanced map, very good map to play on. Two
I'm a big
flags
fan.
useless, but, you know.
I'm a fan of Ghost Town, whatever you say about the two flag. I'll tell you who's not a fan of Ghost Town, that's DarkWolves. They've played it a fair bit this season. They only have a 25% win rate overall on it, so that's not a great sort of a situation to write home about. The one saving grace, I guess, maybe for them is that Meltdown hasn't played it at all this season, so they're not going to be too drilled on it just yet. But again, that means that they're not going to have anything to look at and see how Meltdown likes to play it. So this is a completely clean slate for Meltdown. And I think just the way that they've been playing it, the way they've been looking tonight has been a lot better than DarkWolves. They should have enough to be able to close this one out here, 5-0.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm going to wait until I see the tank picks to call this one. Yes, Meltdown could take it out with, you know, in 5-0, but the DarkWolves here, look, it's doable for them to take on if they get some good picks, if they just do a standard, you know, one flag attack. If they're starting off on the attacking side. The defensive side, it might be a little bit harder to fight Meltdown. So maybe if DarkWolves are defending, then yeah, I'll go Meltdown 1-0. But I will hold my judgment until I see the tank picks to say whether the DarkWolves will win on the attack.
What kind of tank picks are you wanting to see?
Well, I would love to see a couple of super heavy tanks. I would love to see maybe an E100 or two, Kranwagens, AMX 50Bs. I want to see a nice heavy lineup coming out of them with, you know, maybe one or two bad chats thrown in there.
All right. Well, looks like we're about to find out very, very shortly. Interested to see which team is starting on what side as well. I don't think it's particularly favourable for Meltdown to start on either side. It's DarkWolves on the attack, and I see an AMX CDC, so that's a red flag for me already.
Well,
but there's your super heavies.
There's the super heavies, the E100s.
4 of them.
The IS-7.
I would call the IS-7 a super heavy.
Yeah, the grill, and the Batchat, and the AMX CDC, which I have no idea what it does. But apart from that,
it's going to be a shield somewhere, surely.
Maybe that's how they're planning to attack the two flag. Just put a shield in.
I think that could be a decent idea. Put the shield in a position that means the UDES can't get the reset. That's going to force Meltdown to actually commit to the fight, and committing to a fight with IS-7s and E100s is really not going to be an exciting prospect for them. But let's see, who is in the CDC?
UE.
They're on the defense. No, they're not. They're on the attack, sorry.
No, they're not.
I was reading this wrong. UE, where's UE heading? Over towards the one flag. Okay, so it does look like it's going to be the one flag push.
Revolution's got to be careful. He's spotted out, and
yeah, he's in a bad chat though, so he should be able to get out of there pretty quickly.
Yeah, should be okay, but it does actually take 764 damage, so not entirely okay.
Yeah, no, that's not a great sort of a start here for the DarkWolves. To be honest, they're going to have to really hope that this strategy with the CDC is going to work out. Right, here goes Yui to his position, and no surprises that it is the IS-7 following him back into that one flag. Obviously a nice tank for the hull down, very difficult to get the resets on the turret. And Yui looks like he's set up in a pretty nice spot here. Momo is just going to pump out some damage onto him, but really doesn't matter, because Yui's designed to die.
Here we go. Good on you, Yui. And he's just firing away there. He's like, yeah, I'm not going to do too much.
Well, let's jump on to the DarkWolves here. See how things are going.
나온다. 나온다. 나온다.
온다 공비들.
나 뚫릴 것 같거든 무대스.
바샷 돈다.
아샤토는
야,
일단
형님,
유데스한테 끊기는 건 내가 막고 있거든.
방패 공비
나 바샤탄테 탐 붙는다 나는. 기다렸다가.
확인.
사다사는 뭐 죽을 운명이니까. 나 전차장 나가서 바샷이 안 보여.
레모트 앞에.
어.
아니다.
밑으로 갔네.
와 이거 센치 입장에서 보니까
가서 그냥 제껴볼까? 나이스 제낄게 그냥. 공비 있다. 지금 아니다.
자, 나가지 마, 형님.
아니야. 진정하고. 템 유지해봐. 일단 뭐.
와.
야야야.
공비가 나 때리고 있네.
쟤는 오공비
오공비-
장전 패스파인더 장전.
오케이.
핑 왜 이렇게 튀어? 아니야,
미치겠네.
페파 아직 탄
지금이다.
있을걸?
아 근데 내가 피가 없네. 안 되겠다.
오공비 탄 얼마
무리하지
빠졌는데?
마. 무리하지 마.
아
뭐야?
무대스한테 맞는.
200들 다 피다는데 우리가 너무 잉여된 것 같은 느낌이야 나 지금.
이거 다 보인다 무대스한테.
이거
좀만 후순할 거.
이거 그냥 나가는 게 낫지 않아?
Has not at all gone to plan there for the DarkWolves. They just got super easily reset by Meltdown, who were sitting around in the Death Alley in the FV215Bs with some HE shells, and then when the turrets were turned in their direction, the UDES got the reset. So, hasn't been a great situation at all for DarkWolves. Meltdown looking a whole lot more comfortable here on Ghost Town than DarkWolves, who, they tried to shake things up, but you could tell that the strategy wasn't quite executed the way it needed to be.
No, I don't know why DarkWolves didn't think about that 6 line there when they set their IS7s down there, and the IS7s again, they even moved out of the cap and reset themselves a few times, which is just poor play for the DarkWolves. But look, well played to Meltdown. They've executed this kind of counter attack quite well, and well, they've done exactly what they needed to. They got the resets, they managed to win the brawl afterwards, and they did it with some pretty standard tanks. The FV215Bs have been doing work, the MX50Bs did work. There you go, Batcon goes down, and we see a very convincing 5-0 from Meltdown.
Yep, good stuff from Meltdown there, being able to pull off that 5-0. I had some question marks about Meltdown coming into this one. They haven't looked entirely consistent, but being able to pull off a 5-0 there, I think is very good for their confidence. Very good for their scores as well, obviously being able to get 3 on the board, so boosting themselves up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Look, Meltdown, they're going to be happy with that, I do believe. And the DarkWolves here, well, back to square zero.
Yeah, essentially. They still haven't managed to put a win on the board. Their best result is a tiebreaker loss to Coalition Zoo, so they're sitting only on 1 point after pretty much in the entirety of Phase 1.
Rough. That's very, very rough to hear that. If you're the DarkWolves, again, it's like there's simple things that they can fix. I mean, if they just go and maybe practice, look at some VODs and try and, I don't know, and try and make it work. But unfortunately, it's obviously not what they've done this week, and that is the end of Phase 1 of our season.
Yeah,
so
pretty much. I mean, I guess obviously team efficiency has a few more games to play, which means
technically speaking,
a few of the other teams haven't finished all of their matches, but I think we're getting a pretty good indication as to where most of the teams are going to be sitting on the ladder.
Absolutely, I think so. I think we've really had a nice settle down of all of the teams. Like you said, we know where everyone's going to be sitting on the ladder. I really like this season's kind of dynamics or sort of standing so far. It seems like lots of these teams are a lot more evenly matched than last season. Slightly harder to predict some of these results, like we saw today with the 3 tiebreakers. So set us up very, very well, I think.
Yeah, definitely. It's looking like it's going to be a good season here, but hopefully for Meltdown, they're going to be able to continue this sort of run that they've got going on now here. Obviously, they lost a few in a row before getting to this point, but now that they've been able to get a win on the board again, hopefully they can put a few more wins on and really start to challenge again up against the likes of Horseman, the likes of Team Efficiency, and the likes of Karen Tiger, who have been kind of the banes of their existence at the moment.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, let's take a look and I think back to our post-game stats there, I think, and see who was the top damage dealer for both of those teams. And Batkong actually in the grill did a little bit of work.
Yeah, that's actually kind of surprising. I didn't think he was doing all that much sitting back there, but only able to get the 1 kill. 3.9k is quite nice. Yeah, Momo in the UDES, like he was having a field day getting resets on those IS7s. The IS7s turning their turrets, you can get through the side of the turrets a little bit easier than the front, obviously. And Momo quite content to get the resets whenever he needed to.
Yep.
Not to mention those FE215Bs, Pink Pig and Blast, both just firing HE shells into the turrets of the IS-7s. So They were not under pressure at all.
Yeah,
of being
they
capped.
just had free reign essentially. The IS-7s couldn't hit them. That's one of the issues with the IS-7 is that a gun is not particularly accurate. So when they're trying to fire at something like an FV215B all the way up an alley, not going to work. E100s didn't work.
Not really.
5 shots fired for Revolution, 1291 damage. Caviar, 4 shots fired, hit 1. So, well, maybe 1 and a kill. So that is suboptimal, but good to see Mr. Batchat, aka Vice, turn up the top there a little bit.
Yeah, still not at his expected output, to be honest, I'd have to say.
I'd agree.
But anyway, a win's a win for Meltdown, 5-0. Can't complain about that one at all.
Cannot complain, I do believe. And, well, look, I picked 5-1, you picked 5-2,
Yeah.
Max picked 5-1, but 5-0.
I think that's a pretty realistic scoreline. Like I said before, I just didn't think, I didn't think 5-2 was going to be anything, like there was not going to be anything more than what
Yeah.
DarkWolves could be able to get.
Yeah, it's
than
like a
5-2.
maximum
Like
output.
5-2 was the best that they were going to get.
Yeah.
And they didn't get anywhere near that tonight. They didn't look like they were going to win any of those rounds, really. It always felt quite comfortable for Meltdown.
I think so as well. So, well, overall, look, very strong play there from the DarkWolves and, from Meltdown against the DarkWolves, I guess, and hopefully they continue it through tomorrow and next week.
Yeah, I'm not sure who they're up against tomorrow. We'll have to figure that out when we get there, but definitely not going to be quite as easy as the DarkWolves, I'd have to say. Let's look at the post-match stats there and see who was really carrying the torch for each team. Pink Pig, again, up towards the top for his team. Average of 2.8k done is quite nice. Blast with 2.7k average. That's also very, very good. But 10 kills for Pink Pig, man.
Yeah, it's pretty cray. Mr. Pink Pig there, 10 kills. He did work that game, no doubt about it, and he has always been doing work for Meltdown this season. I guess, when Vice turned down there in number 7, scraping into the top 7. Momo and Pang Pang not really doing too much, but you can excuse Pang Pang, I think, for playing a little bit of tier 8s. Yui as well, of course. But yeah, overall some pretty interesting stats there. They are going to be added to our stats tally. Of course, Jordan, we are keeping track of a lot more stats this season than we did last season. We've got, we could write a book on them. I believe we've got an encyclopedia
Got a very
of
big book
WGL
of them
players.
already sitting in